ביאור משנה ד' בהמה שנמצאת מירושלים ועד מגדל עדר. Oh, you find an animal all the way either in Yerushalayim until a place called Migdal Eder. שם עיר בסביבת ירושלים. It's a city in the vicinity of Yerushalayim. Let's call it in our day Yerushalayim and its suburbs. Yeah, Yerushalayim and the suburbs around it. Yeah, so you find an animal somewhere around there. וכמידתה לכל רוח, and to that direction, to every direction, east, west, north, and north. Wherever Eder is, let's say it's 3 miles from Yerushalayim, so you go 3 miles circle around Yerushalayim. וכן אם נמצאת בהמה בצד אחר של ירושלים, so this is also, if you find it on the west part, let's say Eder is on the east 3 miles, but so 3 miles also to the west, even if there's nothing there, it doesn't matter. There's no town over there. You find an animal over there, באותו מרחק שיש בירושלים ועד מגדל עדר. For that distance from ירושלים until מגדל עדר. So if you find a male running around, a male animal, a male sheep, a ram, זכרים, if it's a male, you have to conclude this is a burnt offering. עולות. אם הבהמה שנמצא היא זכר, הרי היא קרבה עולה. You have to assume that this is a burnt offering. Why? שחזקתה שיצאה מירושלים, because since Yerushalayim is the biggest city over here, that has the chazaka, majority of the people, it probably came out of Yerushalayim, that's the chazaka. וכל בהמה שבירושלים בחזקת קודשים היא. And any animal that's in Yerushalayim, you would assume this is a sacrifice, it's a holy. ורוב זכרים, and the majority of males that are used for sacrifices are burnt offering. So therefore you will assume you have to take this animal, you cannot use it for your own good. You have to go take it to Beit HaMikdash, bring it as an ola, as a burnt offering. שעולות אינם באות וצריכים לבד, ובירושלים אמרו, in Yerushalmi state, שתקנת בית דין היא. So the Yerushalmi says this is a decree of the judges, על הבהמות העובדות, on animals that are lost, שהן קרבות עולות. It says it's not because it's the majority. The first opinion is because it's the majority. It says no, it's true it's a majority, but that's not the reason. It's a decree of the court that every animal that you find goes all to Hashem. That's what it is. Okay, doesn't matter why. נקבות, but if it's a female animal, זבחי שלמים, then it's a peace offering. אם הבהמה שנמצאה היא נקבה, הרי קרבה שלמים. Then you can bring it as a peace offering. In other words, now you're allowed to eat it. Now you're allowed to eat it. שרוב הנקבות בירושלים הם שלמים, because the majority of the females in ירושלים are peace offerings. רבי יהודה אומר, Rabbi Yehuda says, הראוי לפסחים, somebody that is befitting to brought as a Pesach sacrifice, המוצא כבש או עז זכר בן שנה, שהוא ראוי לקורבן פסח, the one who finds a sheep or a goat, male, which is a year old, that is befitting to bring Pesach, because I think that Shlamim, he was a 2-year-old, I think. And Pesach is a 1-year-old, yeah, I think. פסחים, מותר לו להקריבו לפצחו. You're allowed to bring it as your own Pesach sacrifice. You didn't buy it. You come to Yerushalayim, you found one, that's it. It's yours. קודם לרגל 30 יום. It says when? You can assume it's a Pesach sacrifice 30 days before the holidays, because people are starting to come and buy sheep then. אם מצאו לפני חג הפסח 30 יום. If they found it before the holiday of Pesach, 30 days. משעה שמתחילים לדרוש בהלכות פסח. From the time, this is the time like we learned before, that you're learning the rules of פסח. שמאותה שעה מתחילים להפריש צאן לפסחים. Because from that time people starting to separate sheep for the Pesach sacrifice. ויש לחשוש שבפסח הוא, you have to worry, this is a Pesach sacrifice, and that out-trumps the Shlamim sacrifice. הילקח יקריב אותו המוצא לשום פסחו. Therefore you have to bring it for a Pesach sacrifice. ואם יבואו בעליו אחר כך, and he says, and if somebody comes afterwards and he finds it, and he says, I lost did you find it? Says, yeah. Says, don't worry, what do? ייתן להם את דמיו. Says, just give him his money. Don't worry, give him his money. You get one for free. give him his money, he's good. He's going to describe, it had something over here, it had a black patch right over here. Oh, yeah, I brought it down. Yeah. And that's it, you give it to him. He gives you a siman. Ve'ein halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda. But halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda. That, in other words, there's no such thing that Pesach out-trumps regular. Pesach doesn't out-trump nothing. Not like Rabbi Yehuda. במסכת קידושין מקשים על משנתנו. In מסכת קידושין they have a question on our Mishnah. ומיישבים אותה על ידי אוקימתות שונות. They explain it through different ways. והרי מסקנות הגמרא לפי הרמב"ם, and the Gemara is conclusion according to the Rambam. So this is, we're going to read the Rambam now. בהמה שנמצאת מירושלים ועד מגדל עדר, any animal that you find in ירושלים until מגדל עדר, וכמילתה לכל רוח, to any direction, 3 miles let's say, אם נקבה בת שנתה היא, if it's a female and it's a year old, כונסה לכיפה עד שתמות. You put it in a house, in a place with no food until it dies, that animal. Why? שמא חטאתי, because it might be a sin offering. הייתה בת שנתיים, if she was 2-year-old, יביאנה שלמים, then you can bring it as a sin offering for sure.
But how do you know how old is the thing?
You can see. You're not a farmer, so you don't know. But somebody who's a farmer can tell you exactly. It's a year-old or 2-year-old. Yeah, I think it's a big difference. Yeah, it's almost. Do you know when the chick is yellow and the chicken is big? You can see it immediately. They looked at the animal. They lived with animals. They look at the animal and says, "This is a year-old. This is 2 years old." I also think that probably the coat looks different. The hair, the whole thing. Yeah, a farmer knows. Yeah. I'm sure your wife also knows. So if she's 2-year-old, you know for sure, you don't know for sure it's a peace offering, but whatever it is, you can bring it as a peace offering. It doesn't matter. It's not a sin offering. So it doesn't mean, a sin offering is a problem because the Kohen needs to eat it. A peace offering, anyway, everybody gets a piece. You're not allowed to. A sin offering, you're not allowed to eat. That's the problem. So that's why you don't know what it is. So you're not allowed to give it to the Kohen because maybe it's not a sin offering. Maybe it was a peace offering. It don't belong to him. There's a lot of problems with the first one.
Why they kill it rather to bring it as olah? Kalil, yisraf.
I think the idea. I think because you don't know if it's a sin offering unless the Kohen eats it. For the Adam, זה לא מחופר. It's not. But it's not going. You bring it as an atonement. It's not. If that it goes to Hashem, doesn't atone for you.
Because it's not. It doesn't have a definition.
You don't.
I see.
I think so.
Okay.
So he brings shlamim ve'yavi malechem, and he should also bring it as a peace offering, and he should bring with it bread. Why bread? Because Shema Todahi, maybe it's a charity, maybe it's a thank offering. It's a thank offering, and with a thank offering, you need bread also. Matzah Zachar ben shtei shanim, he found a male 2 years old, ein lo takana, there's no way to deal with him. Shema Ashahu, yeah, that's the problem. It might be a guilt offering, ועדיין לא כיפרו בעליו, which means if it's a guilt offering and it ran away, the owners now are not going to be atoned. So you cannot bring it as an olaf offering. You're misusing it because he needs to get atoned with it. Atonement means that the Kohen needs to eat it. Matzah Zachar ben Shana, so he found it a year old. Manicho ad sheyipol bo mum. So he placed it there until there's going to be a blemish. Umavi shtei behemot tachtav, and he needs to bring 2 animals instead of him. Umatana ve'omer, and a present, and he says, im olah, because there's two possibilities now that it is. Im olah haya, you have to say, if it was a burnt offering, ze olah tachtav, this is a burnt offering instead of him. Ve'im shlamim haya, and if this is a peace offering, ze shlamim tachtav, this is the peace offering underneath him. Umakriv ha'echad olah, and he brings one of them as a burnt offering, ve'nesachav mishel tzibur, and burnt offering with all the wine and the oil around it comes from congregational produce. Va'acher shlemim im lachem, and the other one he brings the peace offering with bread offering together. Shema todai, because maybe it's a thank offering. Uma yaseh beze hanimtza, and what should he do with the one he found? Ye'achel bemumo. He's allowed to eat it once there's a blemish. Once the blemish appears, he has a blemish, and he buys 2 others instead of him. Now, it's possible to have the same value also. It's already big, and he's going to buy 2 small ones. Yeah? Sha'afilu haya bechor or maaser, because even if it says, what do you mean you're allowed to eat it? Maybe it wasn't even an animal at all. Maybe it wasn't a sacrifice at all. Maybe it was a firstborn that goes to the Kohen, or a tithe that goes to the Kohen. How are you allowed to eat it? So it says, even if it was a firstborn or a meiser, bemumo nechal, a firstborn and meiser, when he's got blemish, you're allowed to eat it, even a non-Kohen. So you don't have to worry about it. V'im Pesach achar zmanohu, and if it's a Pesach, don't worry about it. This is after its time. Pesach is already over, so you're allowed to eat it. Harei ze shlamim, and it's a peace offering, and you bring it as a peace offering, so you're full, so you're safe. Ubezmano hakol nizharim bo, and in its time, Pesach people are very careful. Ve'im tomar shema asham nazir or asham metzorah, you're going to tell me still it might be a Nazarite sacrifice or a leper sacrifice. So he says, no, that doesn't happen a lot. It's very unusual to have this kind of sacrifice running around. Einan metzuim tamid. There's very few Nazarites and very few lepers.
But Korban Yoledet,
Korban Yoledet.
two sheep, one ran away.
So it's you might the Yoledet, the rules of it.
It's going to run after him and breathe.
Yeah, but the rules for Yoledet Korban is probably like the Shlamim Korban. So you bring in the Shlamim anyway, so you're fine.
It's covered.
Yeah, it's covered, that's right. Lefichach lo chashulayim. So the Nazir and the Metzora, you don't worry about them at all because it's very unusual. It's rare, so you don't have to worry about them.